Nuwan Vijayawardena appointed as the deputy leader of the UNP. Ranil Wickremesinghe to remain as the leader until January 2021. Prime Minister appoints committee chaired by GL Pires to look into the 20th Amendment. Who drafted the 20th Amendment?
දැන් කවුද මේ 20 වෙනි සංශෝධනය ගෙනාවේ? දැන් තියෙන ප්‍රශ්නේ ඒක. දැන්
කවුරු හවුල් වුණාද කියන එක නෙමෙයි වැදගත් ප්‍රශ්නේ. වෙන්නේ කවුද වගකීම බාරගන්නේ සම්පූර්ණ රජය.
DMOA requests to remove health portfolio from the Provincial Council. 12 new judges appointed to High Court.
Good evening, you're watching Primetime News on TV1. On your lead story tonight, the National Front of Professionals today spoke on the 20th Amendment to the Constitution and raised an issue on some of the provisions included in it.
We as the National Front of Professionals have doubts as to what they have tried to accomplish through the 20th Amendment. We wonder whether they have tried to create a fresh new position above the powers of the Constitution which supersedes all positions and all powers in the country. If these clauses are approved and the post of President is vested with powers higher than the Constitution, it will affect us as professionals in this country. It affects us as a people because any citizen should be subject to the Constitution no matter what position he holds.
There were also comments made on the possibility of signing adverse agreements such as the MCC if the 20th Amendment is passed.
Urgent bills may be brought in under the clause that has been included. That means a bill can be passed within 24 hours. These are very dangerous things. During the previous government, the US worked hard to sign the MCC agreement and make our country a war zone. The patriotic people rejected the MCC agreement at that time without succumbing to the dollars on offer and then were able to postpone it to some extent. We cannot say that the urgent bills that will be introduced will not be harmful to this country in the future.
Another major risk posed was also revealed.
According to the 19th Amendment to the Constitution, when the Cabinet of Ministers of this country is appointed, they give a pledge that they are committed to protecting this country without dividing it. The 20th removes this clause. At the same time, as soon as the pledge is withdrawn, it also allows the dual citizens the chance to enter Parliament. It opens up the possibility of a dual citizen becoming the President of the country. Can you see the risk? The power of the Auditor General and his independence has also been threatened. Many major institutions have been removed from the purview of being audited. Through this, the Presidential Secretariat, the Prime Minister's Secretariat and many other registered institutions in this country are proposing to stop their being audited with the 20th Amendment. Who put these proposals forward?
Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa has appointed a committee to look into the draft 20th Amendment to the Constitution. The committee, chaired by Professor GL Pires, includes Udaya Gammanpila, Mohammad Ali Sabri, Nimal Siripal De Silva and Vimal Weerawansa as members of the committee. In addition to this, State Ministers Susil Premajayanta and S. Vyalendran and parliamentarians Dilan Pereira and Attorney at Law Premanath Sidolawatta have been appointed as members of the committee as well. According to the Prime Minister's office, the committee report is to be presented to the Prime Minister tomorrow. The committee appointed to look into the draft 20th Amendment to the Constitution convened today at the residence of Professor G.L. Pires. Now, who brought this 20th Amendment? That is the question. The Minister of Justice says that he presented it to this cabinet, that is by Ali Sabri. Ali Sabri, the Minister of Justice, says he does not know who drafted the 20th Amendment. Then a document that he did not know about was presented to the cabinet. Minister Vimal Weerawansa says that this is a fatherless child. Then, who introduced this 20th Amendment? The 20th Amendment is like a fatherless child. We question whether this is how a constitution is going to be amended. It was not discussed and put forward before the people. They did not receive any comments. Even their parliamentary group does not know about it. The cabinet does not know. Even the Minister of Justice, Ali Sabri, who presented this to the cabinet, is not aware as to how the 20th Amendment was drafted. Even the Prime Minister is unaware.
The constitution of any country is not made by a single person. The constitution is presented by a government. With the approval of the cabinet, the whole government takes responsibility for it. The creation of the government is not consigned to the work of an individual. This can be introduced to the agenda of the Parliament after the 17th. The parliamentary session is on the 22nd. After the presentation of the draft, the people have another week to go to the Supreme Court against this bill. Which constitution in the world has the signature of a person on it? To the best of my knowledge, no country in the world has a constitution presented in such a manner. The important question is not who participated in drafting it, but who takes responsibility for it, and that is the whole government.
වගකීම බාරගන්නේ සම්පූර්ණ රජය.
This is the response of MP Vijayadasa Rajapaksa when asked about the 20th Amendment. Meanwhile, UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Michelle Bachelet said today that the 20th Amendment to the Constitution would have a negative impact on leading independent bodies such as the Human Rights Council. Inaugurating the 45th session of the Human Rights Council, she called for an immediate end to the intimidation and search of victims, their families, human rights activists, journalists and lawyers. Bachelet called on the international community to pay attention to Sri Lanka anew, taking into account the need to address the threats to peace, reconciliation and sustainable development.
Acting Chinese ambassador in Sri Lanka, Hu Wei, speaking to the Daily Mirror, spoke about bilateral relations and economic developments between the two countries.
Acting Chinese ambassador in Sri Lanka, Hu Wei, speaking to the Daily Mirror, said the relationship between Sri Lanka and China is based on strategic partnership cooperation and not limited to economic development. The acting ambassador said China never says China first and forces Sri Lanka to choose sides. When questioned about the nature of the strategic partnership cooperation between Sri Lanka and China, the ambassador said, as strategic partners, there should be better understanding of each other and provide support in matters of core interests and defend each other. The ambassador added that whenever the Sri Lankan government seeks support from China during difficult times, the Chinese government will extend their support. Likewise, if China needs support in bilateral and multilateral issues and comes to Sri Lanka, China will receive similar solidarity from the island nation. When questioned about the next step of Sri Lanka-China cooperation on the Belt and Road Initiative, the acting Chinese ambassador in Sri Lanka, Hu Wei, said that as the government secured a two-thirds majority following the parliamentary election, this might be the best time for the strategic cooperation to proceed faster and broader. He added that Sri Lanka can attract more investment from China to promote economic and social development in the country. When questioned about China's expectation on the concept of free and open Indo-Pacific policy advocated by the West, Ambassador Hu Wei said, quote, "We have no problem with free and open navigation. We are always supportive of it, but sorry to see that it has been used as an excuse to attack other countries, especially China," unquote. Meanwhile, the annual report to the US Congress titled Military and Security Developments Involving China has pointed out that China is seeking to establish a more robust overseas logistics and basing infrastructure to sustain military power at greater distances. It goes on to say that beyond its current base in Djibouti, China is very likely already considering and planning for additional overseas military logistics facilities to support naval, air and ground forces. It adds that China was likely considering locations for military logistics facilities in Myanmar, Thailand, Singapore, Indonesia, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, United Arab Emirates, Kenya, Seychelles, Tanzania, Angola and Tajikistan. However, according to the acting Chinese ambassador, the US has not only set up its Indo-Pacific Command with over 300,000 personnel, but also deployed its military bases in the Indian Ocean. The ambassador said, quote, "China doesn't have any command or military base in the region," unquote, and went on to question, quote, "Who is threatening the free and open region and who has more reason to worry about it," unquote.
For the first time since his victory at the presidential election, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa met members of the Vietmag organization at its headquarters yesterday. The president has requested that the organization support the government to move forward with its initiatives.
The meeting was held at the Vietmag office in Atulkote. The president had stated that the Vietmag organization has the responsibility to identify the situations where the political authority should intervene and formulate plans and policies for the progress of the country. He pointed out that the organization could also provide guidance with regard to the future activities of state ministries. The president further stated that all development activities should be carried out in a manner that protects the environment.
The Government Medical Officers Association requests that the subject of health and the relevant portfolio be removed from the provincial councils.
Medical Officers Association met State Minister for Provincial Councils and Local Government Sarath Veerasekara today and made the following requests.
President Chandrika Kumaratunga gazetted the medical service as a centralized service. Even though that has been amended by the Provincial Councils Act, we still report to the central authorities. So the current situation is even more confusing. We hold some of the posts under the provincial councils, but the officers of the central government are the ones who work. This can lead to a conflict at any time. Next, they have tried to appoint doctors who are not only citizens of Sri Lanka, but also citizens of other countries. Therefore, this should be a centralized subject.
Is that in the northern province?
If we want to protect the free health service in the northern province, the provincial list should be completely abolished and this should be maintained as a centralized subject.
I am now studying whether the provincial councils are efficient and how the people have benefited from the provincial councils. Also how much money we spend on the provincial councils.
As a founder of the Sri Lanka People's Front, Honorable Basil Rajapaksa stated, as a party, we strongly oppose the use of this money under these 9 governors. That money should be used with the approval of elected public officials. Therefore, he clearly stated that the decision of the party as the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna is that if the provincial council is to be maintained and the provincial council system is to continue, there must be a provincial council election as soon as possible. That is the decision of the party.
Ruwan Wijewardena has been appointed as a new deputy leader of the United National Party. The decision was made at the UNP Working Committee meeting held this evening.
The UNP Working Committee meeting was held this afternoon under the auspices of party leader Ranil Wickremesinghe. Today's meeting was focused on appointing a person to the vacant post of deputy leader of the United National Party. Following the nominations of Ravi Karunanayake and Ruwan Wijewardena for the post today, an election was held and the deputy leader was elected. Ruwan Wijewardena received 28 votes while Ravi Karunanayake received only 10 votes.
අද කෘත්‍යාධිකාරී මණ්ඩලයේ බහුතරයක් මං ගැන විශ්වාසය තියලා මාව පත් කෙරුවා පක්ෂයේ නියෝජනායකයා හැටියට මේ පක්ෂයේ ආපහු අපි වැඩිටලා තියෙන තැනින් පක්ෂය ආපහු හදලා දිරිගන්වලා පාක්ෂිකයන්ගේ විශ්වාසය ආපහු දිනාගෙන මේ පක්ෂය නිසි තැනට ගේන්නට තමයි මගේ එකම චේතනාව.
අද ඔබතුමාට නියෝජ්‍ය නායක තනතුර ලැබුණා වගේම ලබන අවුරුද්ද ජනවාරි මුල නායකත්වය ලැබෙයි කියලා බලාපොරොත්තුවක් තියෙනවද?
ඉදිරියේදී නායකත්වයටත් ඉදිරිපත් වෙන්න මම බලාපොරොත්තුවක් තියෙනවා.
දැන් මේ නියෝජ්‍ය නායකතුමාට තමයි ලබන අවුරුද්ද නායකත්වය ලැබෙන්නේ කියන්නේ ඇත්තද ඒක?
නෑ එහෙමත් නෙවෙයි. ගොඩක් දුරට මම හිතනවා ඒ කියන්නේ නියෝජ්‍ය නායකකම ලැබෙන්නේ ඉතින් ඉදිරියේදී නායකත්වය යම් කිසි පාර කැපීමක් තමයි. නමුත් ඒත් මේ පක්ෂය තුල තවත් අය ඉන්නවා. ඉතින් මම හිතන්නේ ඒ අවස්ථාවේදී හරි තීරණයක් ගන්න.
දැන් පාර්ලිමේන්තු ජාතික ලයිස්තුවේ තනතුර ගැන තාමත් තීරණයක් ගන්න බැහැ. ඔබතුමාද නැත්නම් රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහතුමාද?
නෑ ඒක ගැන තාමත් තීරණයක් ගත්තේ නෑ.
ඔබතුමාට ලැබුණොත් බාර ගන්නවද?
නෑ මම එදා ඉඳන්ම කිව්වේ මම ඒක බාර ගන්න නෑ කියලා.
A group of supporters were present at the Sirikota party headquarters to welcome Ruwan Wijewardena as the new deputy leader. Wijewardena accompanied the gathering to the Buddhist shrine at the Sirikota party headquarters and engaged in religious observances.
Ruwan Wijewardena, who was born on the 5th of August 1975, began his education at St. Thomas's Preparatory School in Kolpiti. He began his political career by being elected to the Western Provincial Council in 2010 and was later elected to the Parliament that same year. During the Good Governance government that was in power between 2015 and 2020, Wijewardena held the portfolios of State Minister of Defence and the Non-Cabinet Minister of Mass Media.
12 newly appointed judges received their appointment letters to the Supreme Court of Sri Lanka by President Gotabaya Rajapaksa today.
The appointment letters were handed over by the President at the Presidential Secretariat today. According to the President's Media Division, W.A. Pereira, C. Migoda, I.A.K. Ranavira, K.S.L. Jayaratna, R.S.A. Disanayaka, W.M.M. Talgodapitiya, D.W.W.M.R.C.P. Kumaridala, H.S. Ponnamperuma, S.I. Kalingavansa, D.A.R. Patirana, N.T. Vikramasekara and A.G.U.S.N.K. Seneviratna were handed over the appointment letters. These are highly diverse ecological zones in the country. All of that is now being destroyed relentlessly.
Environmental destruction, one of the main topics of discussion in our country at the moment. A special discussion was held today regarding the clearing of lands in the Kuritiya Mohotte area in Eluwankulama in Mangalapura Gramildari division in the Vanathavulla Divisional Secretariat recently under the heading of Subject Minister C.V. Ratnayaka.
On the 6 trees on land belonging to the Forest Conservation Department in the Mangalapura area in Vanathavulla were cut down. Several trees were set on fire. The land has been obtained on lease by the Lanka Cement Corporation. When the media reported on this incident, the Minister of Wildlife and Forest Conservation, C.B. Ratnayaka, held a special discussion on it at the Vanathavulla police station. The media was not allowed to cover the proceedings of this discussion.
ඇතුළට ගත්තේ නැත්තේ ඔයාලා අවශ්‍ය නැති හන්ද නෙමෙයි ඔයාලා අනිවාර්යෙන් අපිට ඕන. හරිද? මාධ්‍යරයි මේ වහන්න මේ ස්ටෑන්ඩ්. මම මාධ්‍යරයි තහනම් උනේ. මාධ්‍යර අපිට එන්න දුන්නේ නැහැ. කරනකොට හැමෝටම මාධ්‍යට ඕන දෙයක් අංගන්නේ නැහැ. ඒකට අපිට සමාජයේ දැන් මෙතන වගකීතු පුද්ගලයෝ කවුද කියලා දැනට හඳුනාගෙන තියෙනවා. අනිවාර්යෙන් මේක සිමෙන්ති සංස්ථාව
5,200 acres have been given to the Cement Corporation. That is the land that has been acquired in this manner and is being destroyed. We instructed the Cement Corporation to take steps to make the area a green zone again.
The minister and the officials inspected the area after holding a discussion for about 2 hours.
වන සංරක්ෂණයට අයිති නැහැ වන ජීවියකට අයිති නැහැ හැබැයි රටේ පරිසර අමාත්‍යාංශ මේ තීන්දුව ගත්තා නමුත් තවත්තුමා වග කියන ලඝු කරන්න එපා ඔබ ජනප්‍රිය වෙන්න කතන්දර කියන්න යන්න එපා සමාගමෙන් දැන් අපි මම අවුරුදු 14ක් මේ ඉදම ගොවිතැන් කරලා තියෙන හතර ලින් ගහලා ඔක්කොම වෙන කරලා ඉමිස් සමාගම මේ වෙනකන් ආවේ නැහැ අපි ඔය දැන් ජවරන් කරන් අපි මේක බේර ගන්නකොටත් ඉමිස් සමාගම නිකන්වත් පිළිහින්නේ නැහැ ඉමිස් සමාගම නිකන්වත් මම අවුරුදු 14ක් වෙනවා දැන් ගොවිතැන් කරන්න පටන් ගන්නවා දැන් අපේ සභාපතිතුමා මේකට වග කියන්න ඕනේ නැහැ
Newsfirst reported yesterday that a land area of about 5 acres in the upper Panvila zone in the Knuckles Reserve has been cleared illegally. It was revealed upon the inquiry of the officers attached to the Forest Conservation Department in the area that the clearing has been done for vegetable cultivation. The Forest Conservation Department noted that though it has details of private land located within the reserve, it does not possess any information about this particular plot of land.
Attention should be paid to the fact that the Huluganga, which feeds the Victoria Reservoir, receives nourishment through this Knuckles Reserve. We saw that the upper part of the forest has been cleared for cultivation. The Victoria Reservoir is the main factor that the Rantabe and the Randenigala reservoirs have been protected by the environment. However, 60% of the Rantabe is filled with silt. This could happen to the Victoria as well as a result of the forest being cleared.
Let's pause for a moment. Let's try to understand what we just saw. What are we looking at? We are looking at a situation where our natural resources in our country being destroyed by people due to irresponsible decisions that are being made, due to negligent decisions that are being made. What are we talking about here? We are talking about a country, we're talking about natural resources, we're talking about forests of Sri Lanka that have been even recognized by the UNESCO itself as World Heritage Sites. We are looking at a country where we have 6 cultural heritage sites and 2 natural heritage sites. Now, if you take a look at the numbers, how does this fall in terms of the numbers? 65,610 square kilometers, and within this 65,610 square kilometers of Sri Lanka, we have 8 UNESCO recognized World Heritage Sites. Let's take a moment and compare this to another country. Let's, for example, compare this to Greece. Greece probably has 131,957 square meters. That is the exact value, 131,957 square kilometers, almost or even double the size of Sri Lanka, and they only have 18 World Heritage Sites on their land. We are talking about a country that has so much in terms of natural resources, and we are also looking at news reports on a daily basis now in terms of forest destruction, deforestation, reserves being cleared out for, again, reasons that are not known, that cannot be understood as to what is going on. We have 2 things to get clarified out of these matters that we are reporting. Either some of the officials, not all, but some of the officials who are giving permission for these lands to be cleared are uneducated about this. They do not know the importance of these lands, or they just let it happen because they simply don't care. If that is the reason, we have to keep in mind that we are living in a country where we have 6 cultural heritage sites and 2 natural heritage sites. Our future generations, the youth and our children, our future generations of our country will not have any of this to be proud of, will not have any of this to live with, and therefore they will not only suffer with the lack of natural resources in the country, they will also curse you and I for not taking action to stop officials, stop people, stop these clearing of forests, these illegal clearing of forests, and the destruction that we cause to the environment as of right now. I reiterate this once again. If we do not take a stand against the forest destruction, illegal deforestation, and clearing forests for illegal cultivations, our future generations will not have a country to be proud of. It will not have a country that we can call ourselves home, and they will definitely curse the current generations for not taking action.
Thank you very much, Chaturanga. Now moving on to some more news here at home. The lane law is set to be reimposed under a program with the theme Let's Reimpose the Lane Law.
According to the Sri Lanka police, the lane law implemented for 4 entry roads to Colombo and within the Colombo city will be in effect from today. Accordingly, this lane rule will be enforced from Poldua Junction on Sri Jayawardhanapura Road to Horton Place roundabout, from Kalaniya Bridge on Baseline Road to High Level Road, from near Anula Vidyala in Nugegoda towards Colombo, and also on Gaul Road. Police officers carrying placards indicating the right lane were on duty on both sides of the road this morning. Meanwhile, the Sri Lanka police stated that nearly 1,500 police officers will be deployed to reduce traffic congestion.
Drivers are afraid to come to the road at once. It's going to be 2 or 3 days and there will be a small block until they get used to the system. Then, sir, there are CCTV facilities here. We have to deploy an officer and inform them and file a case when they break the law. We can also show them what they have done wrong. We do not expect this to be successful on the first day. I think it will be better tomorrow than today, and even better the day after.
Amidst constitutional amendments and political debates, we now focus on the plight of the people that is unheard and unnoticed by authorities. The Gamada teams visited the people of Kurunegala, Hambantota and Trincomalee districts today under the 5th Gamada Door-to-Door initiative.
It has been a long time since people of the 150 families in Gonagala Kurunegala have been parted with the families of Muandala in Muanthanna. Reason for this being this parting, this bridge. Only this concrete slab is left in this bridge. If this bridge could be built, people in 2 villages can be united again after a long time. If they are to travel around the villagers have to cover a distance of 4 kilometers. However, during rainy days, the villagers are deprived of visiting their neighboring village. Udamattala and Pahalamattala are 2 very rural villages in the Hambantota district. Even though Hambantota has been vested with an international airport, these people do not have a proper road to travel on. Maybe the authorities are of the opinion that these people too travel by air. Maybe that is why they have not yet looked into the plight of these people. When you travel on the road, you can see that using it is impossible. There are huge potholes. To the world, there is the Udamattala airport, but when you come here, this place is like hell itself. To make matters worse, their hardship is not limited to a lack of a road. They are also battered by the wild elephant menace and lack of clean drinking water. They do not have sufficient water for their cultivations. The only river in the area has been scorched by the hot sun. The Lulugambehera water project only provides water to these villages on every other day. There is no electricity in the electric fence. The fence has been supported by rocks. The Sallagamam village in Trincomalee is a fishing village. Close to 800 fishing families reside in the village. These villagers do not even have a pier to dock their boats in. The estuary in Sallagamam is only about 5 feet deep, whereas the accepted norm is that such estuaries need to be at least 6 feet deep. This problem and the fact that nearby hotels are disposing garbage into this estuary means that they cannot even see a boat enter without a hindrance. The people request that an estuary of the right dimensions be made.
The European Union has funded 9 capacity buildings for higher education projects in Sri Lanka.
The delegation of the European Union to Sri Lanka and the Maldives, in collaboration with the University of Peradeniya, announced EU-funded capacity building for higher education projects for 2020. The announcement took place at the University of Peradeniya together with 15 other participant institutions. The EU in Sri Lanka is funding 9 capacity building projects in 2020 through the Erasmus Plus program, which aims to promote the sustainable development of its partners in the field of higher education. Professor Upulbi Disanayaka, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Peradeniya, said that the university has thoroughly focused on initiating both capacity building and international credit mobility programs with the European universities.
The 13th COVID-19 death was reported today. The Government Information Department, quoting senior epidemiologist Dr. Sudat Samaravira, said the victim was a 60-year-old Sri Lankan returnee from Bahrain and passed away at the Chilau General Hospital. The victim had returned to Sri Lanka on the 2nd of September and had not tested positive for COVID-19 upon arrival. However, while he was undergoing quarantine, he was admitted to the Chilau General Hospital on the 9th of September, according to the Government Information Department. It added cardiac arrest can be ruled as the closest cause of the death. A special team of Marine Environmental Protection Authority today collected samples of fuel discharged from the empty New Diamond ship that caught fire. A special diving team of the Sri Lanka Navy has also approached the ship to dive into the deep sea associated around the ship and investigate whether there is an internal fuel leak from the ship. The empty New Diamond, which caught fire with 270,000 metric tons of crude oil on board, is being towed 52 nautical miles off the coast. A diving team from the Sri Lanka Navy arrived at the ship today to investigate whether the crude oil inside the ship was leaking. Navy. Moving on to more news overseas, the traces of a pungent gas that wafts through the clouds of Venus may be emanating from aerial organisms, microbial life, but not as we know it.
Astronomers detected phosphine 30 miles up in the planet's atmosphere and have failed to identify a process other than life that could account for its presence. The discovery raises the possibility that life gained a foothold on Earth's inner neighbor and remnants clung on or floated on, at least as Venus suffered runaway global warming that made the planet hellish.
And that's a wrap of Primetime News from all of us here at the Newsfirst desk. Good night and take care.